Introduction. All right, let me click this. Okay, and first of all, let me just say this: hello from the state of Tennessee, the volunteer state. Um, and I just want everyone to know that if you have a question, we'll just wait till the end to address all of them, kind of like Tyrone said. But if you have something in the chat box, I'll try to look at that as much as often as I can to see if it's something that you want to address immediately at that point. But this is really more about a discussion about how chambers of commerce and extension can play together. And it's based kind of on a little study that I did in Tennessee with the chamber directors in this state. But I thought to start it off, I would like to give a little food for thought, and you're going to see how this link in a few minutes. But Albert Einstein said the future is unknown, but somewhat predictable. To look to the future, we must first look back upon the past and where the seeds of the future were planted. And also, Jack Welch says, face reality as it is, not as it was, or as you wish it to be. And you're going to see me talk about this just a little bit on the front end. But first, oh boy, the technology bug has got me here. There we go. So here's the title: Developing Collaborative Partnerships with Chambers of Commerce. And a little bit about me. I just put 2 slides in. I'm a very boring person. Anybody who likes to look at C-SPAN, they're pretty boring, right? I've worked for Extension for 34 years, 31 as a county staff member, with 19 of those as the county director, in a little old county called Haywood County, Brownsville, Tennessee. Now, that county is famous for something. It's the birthplace of Tina Turner. That is where Nutbush is located, is in that county. So just give a shout out to the chamber director. Tell her that I said that in this presentation for those who may know her. But the last 3 years I've spent as an area specialist doing community economic development work. But one little unique thing about my career, when I look back on it, I actually have worked in all 4 program areas. I started my career in '89 as a 4-H agent, did that for about 4 years. And believe it or not, there was, following those 4 years, I actually was assigned 4-H, CED, and Ag. I had 3 program areas that I had to program for. And then, of course, eventually they weeded out the 4-H, and I became an Ag and CED agent. And then in 2002, I became the county director. And then, of course, I also have served 15 years, going back to 2009, as an adjunct instructor for UT Martin, where I teach agricultural undergraduate courses. And I just teach Ag Econ, Ag Policy Studies, Fundamentals of Cooperative Extension, and a few other courses. I'm a native of Nashville. And the Nashville that I grew up in, it does not exist. The Nashville I grew up in, you could actually coon hunt and rabbit hunt. I grew up right in a little area where there's Rutherford, Davidson, and Williamson County. But now I reside in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a graduate of Tennessee State University, where I received my MS in Agricultural Science in '92 and my BS in Animal Science in '87. I'm married to a great woman. I say that because this presentation is recorded. So, she has a way of getting things if I present. So I'm married to a great woman, Doris, and we have 2 kids, but we are empty nesters. And I'm happy to say that both of them are off my payroll. So let's get on to the conversation here. When we think about Chamber of Commerce's, these are some of the images that come to mind. An office where people meet. There's carnivals. There are parades. I know in Haywood County, we used to have a big fish fry every year with our chamber. We think about the storefronts, mainly in the small towns. Yes, I know the urban cities have chambers as well. But again, the old fire truck out at the Christmas parade, those are the kind of things that we think of, particularly in the rural setting of chambers of commerce. And the reason I put those quotes up early is because historically, these institutions, there was purpose to unify the interests of business owners. Um, and and they also kind of had interest with political activity. They're recognized for that, and that's something that I discovered as I was putting this together. But the reason I put the quotes in, it was actually Extension, our organization. We owe our roots to the Chamber of Commerce. Now, when we go all the way back to 1911, there, as you see in the bullet, the county agent and farm bureau concepts can be traced back to this New York chamber. And Byers Gitchell's proposed to establish a farm bureau department for the Binghamton, New York Chamber of Commerce way back in 1911. This bureau would, they wanted to go out and teach farmers the opportunities that they was teaching business owners there in town. Now, the chamber ended up Delaware, Lackawanna, and the Western Railroad, and USDA provided some funding for this farm agent. I just found this pretty fascinating. And with New York State College of Agriculture contributing. So you can kind of see where Extension's getting its roots here. And that farm agent traveled within a 50-mile radius. And of course, they adjusted the travel after 1 year. But what was really interesting with this, and I'm really testing some of the extension agents that's on hand here. I'm really testing some of your knowledge probably. But Seaman Knapp, who's known as the father of extension, he saw this experiment that they did up there with that chamber. And many say that's how he got the concept to develop and structure cooperative extension. So we go back to chambers of commerce. It's just kind of amazing when I saw that. Now, in some work that I saw with Warlack, the small chambers tend to be held together by social ties. And of course, I've spent my career working in a small community. And I would have to say that is true. The work that I've done with the chambers around the area where I am, it's a lot of social ties to it. But down in Memphis, the Chamber of Commerce tend to be issue driven more so. So I found that to be true. Rolack also provided a couple of three other insights I would like to focus on. One, he said that technology is reducing the need for face-to-face networking. And that's a problem with chambers of commerce because, they were known as a networking organization. That's how they operate. They pull together the business community, the nonprofit community, the faith-based community, and also the small business community, as well as the ag community. And so that they've always kind of worked everything through the chamber. But now with technology coming on board, people don't necessarily go visit the Chamber of Commerce like they used to. Chambers are becoming less relevant over time. That was something that he found. And, because everything that the chambers offer, it's online. If someone wants training, a new employee, boom, they just go find it on the search engine and there it is. So just like extension, as we begin to see more and more of our, office time, people coming to the office, at least in my neck of the woods, now people just kind of Google it, but if anything, they'll call and ask you a question about something that they found on Google. So what I did, I ended up doing a study. Now this is not some PhD study or anything like that. I didn't go in and do all the SPSS statistics and all of that, but this was just something simple. So what I did, I contacted the Tennessee County, Chamber of Commerce Association, and they agreed to dispense this survey out for me. And I ended up getting, out of 95 counties, I got 46 responses. of chamber directors as well as chamber staff members. So I felt pretty good about that. So I asked, what programming areas did these, chamber people know extension? Because I wanted to find out, how did they know extension? And it was funny that 4-H 24 times and agriculture 22 was the most. And you kind of would think that. And what I was a little bit worried about was the CED part, because that's what I am, a CED specialist. And that's only 8 times. Also, when I broke down these chamber, where they were, 80% of them was rural. We would expect that in Tennessee. 7 was suburban, what we would consider suburban county, and about 13 was urban. I would tell you, it was mainly, I think Knoxville, Nashville, and Memphis had people to respond. Now, when asked about the need for extension as far as CED, this is what they said that they really needed from us. 31% small business programming, nonprofit programming, followed by government agency collaborations, and industrial and manufacturing issues. I found that real interesting. But evidently, those that did respond kind of see extension as obviously a government agency, and that we can help collaborate with other government agencies with, that they may need. So I found that pretty interesting to see that. And then when I asked for them to identify the top 5 community needs, and this is how they rolled out: workforce development and retention. And I think extension can do work in workforce development and retention. And then repurposing buildings. And I remember that's been a big thing here in Tennessee, as we've seen all the growth that's occurring, a lot of abandoned buildings, and that didn't shock me. Of course, business retention was big, housing initiatives is big, but I think that's nationally, as well as, again, staff and employee management, which can probably be tied to workforce development a little bit, and retention. They can kind of go, I guess, a little bit hand in hand there. But workforce is really big, and I think that's an area that with our 4-H programs, our youth programs, our FCS programs, I do think that we can definitely step in and collaborate with chambers of commerce and do some programming there, as well as with the housing initiatives. When asked about the hiring barriers in their community, this low employee pool or people not wanting to work, that was a comment that just kept coming up, and they just kept checking any box that related to lack of housing, again, and also lack of childcare. I want to put that in there. And everybody, the employer is not willing to pay higher wages. And I guess everywhere you look, you have people that everybody always wants to make more money, right? So I see a lot here with this. I think you can make your own assumptions or whatever in your own situation. And this may apply to you, it may not. I don't know. But the low employee pool and people not wanting to work, that has become a major issue down here. And then the types of businesses served most by chambers of commerce. And again, 2 at the top was small family-owned businesses. And, I think extension with our history of working with, small farms, because these farms are businesses, I think we can tie in and provide services to chambers of commerce in that arena. Also tying with that was professional services, and I found that very interesting. That chambers identified that as the type of services businesses served most by chambers of commerce. And then, of course, industries use chambers, as well as the agribusinesses also showed up there in the top group, as well as the national chains. And of course, they're coming there just wanting to find out information about where to locate stores and all of that. The top 3 ways identified by Chamber of Commerce directors of how extension can assist. Now, this is what really kind of got me fired up here. And I had 18 hits of conduct small business seminars, and just all aspects of business ownership, tax management, estate planning, just all those type of things. And again, extension, we have the expertise to do that. We have the specialists and the agents that, that know what they're talking about as far as, how to business successions, the management, the finances, where to find funding and those kind of things. We can collaborate, and I have in the past with my local chamber of putting these type of programs on. And they also needed us to serve as a liaison to agricultural businesses. And as I'll talk about this later, but as the demographics begin to change in rural America, we're getting less and less agricultural. People are leaving the farm areas a little more, but then they come back to it in a sense. But, they just need somebody to help explain some of the agriculture, to work with the ag businesses, because some of the people at the chamber, they have no idea about agriculture. And I've ran across that as a CED specialist. And then, of course, one way that they said the extension can assist is to serve on the chamber boards and their committees. And that's where I got my start working with chambers of commerce way back in, way back in 1996. Yes, I will get to the questions at the end. Okay. So let's move on. So the small businesses operating financial needs, what the Chamber of Commerce has told me was where they need people to tell them where to acquire financing, bookkeeping, training, and business succession. Those, when I read those throughout the comments on the survey, and I can kind of see where that would be. Again, extension, we can provide this. We know all about this type of stuff. We can do this. So then the Chamber of Commerce directors, I asked about their perceptions of industry. And this is very, very important to me right now, in that I live in the area, in the county where the new big Ford manufacturing plant is being constructed. And it has changed the entire region, by the way. And I think everybody would know that. But when I asked questions about industrial perceptions, I found this interesting that the directors all said this, that they were not confident existing industries, well, 46% of them, were not confident existing industries perceive the county workforce competent. And again, in 19% were confident existing industries perceive the county workforce competent. So, almost half of them really just do not think that the workforce, that the industries don't think that the workforce is confident. They also said that about 57% estimated their labor share to be living within 50-mile radius, which is pretty good for industrial recruitment. And then 90%, they felt confident that their county commission was receptive of large-scale industrial development. And then 75% said even if it was even bigger, 5,000 plus jobs type of things such as the Ford plant. So, and I can say that we have had some changes in county commissions down here. So I would probably say a few years ago, I would say those numbers would be lower with the county commissions, with the chamber directors thinking that way. But I kind of see some changing taking place. So I come to this here. So what extension must remember regarding chambers of commerce? I think it's very, 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 very important that that we understand that chamber members are regional employers, um, and their participation and commitment is essential. So as we start working with chambers of commerce, uh, as we start putting them more and more into our programming, we really need to understand and recognize that, a lot of them employ people, they're regional people. And also it matters how their business organizations respond to societal issues and social movements, because we're beginning to see more and more as people move into our rural areas. We kind of see that some societal things, some of the things that our chamber would talk about in the past. I mean, in the past, we wouldn't have talked about things in the past that they're talking about now. So, what are some ways for extension to engage with chambers of commerce? What are some ways that I think that we can? We must advocate and show how agriculture and industry can coexist. The thing about when we get all this new population that's moving in to some of our rural areas, they don't quite understand the agricultural stuff. Some of the industries don't understand the agricultural stuff. And of course, agriculture doesn't understand some of the industry things. So we have got to show that we can coexist. I also do a lot of work with development districts. And one of the things that I keep in front of those development districts, I always keep in front of those county mayors and city mayors in those development districts information about how important agriculture is to the economy of their counties. Because some of them even kind of want to shove agriculture aside. And I know the extension is more than agriculture, but unfortunately we get identified with agriculture. Another thing that we can do with our 4-H programs, apprenticeship programs. I know here in the state of Tennessee, the Tennessee Department of Labor is putting a lot of emphasis on apprenticeship programs. So maybe 4-H agents can step in and get part of that funding or whatever it may be, and help to put these on. It's really big. I know that as we get more and more of the industries coming in to support forward, that's all they talk about is having apprenticeship programs, getting the workforce ready. And I think that extension can capitalize on that. And also in working with chambers of commerce throughout our various counties across this nation of ours, but a lot of them are changing. And I can honestly say that prior to 2021, whenever I went to the Walmart in Brownsville, Tennessee, I probably knew of all the customers in there. I would know about 80, probably 75% of the people. Now, of course, I had a lot of different things that I did throughout that community where I knew a lot of people. But since all the building that has taken place with Ford coming, I must honestly say that now when I go to the Walmart in Brownsville, I do good if I know about 15% of the people that's in that store. They are people who do not look like they came from Brownsville, Tennessee, and you can tell it. And we just got to recognize that our communities are changing socially in all kind of aspects. So it's just changing. So ways for extension to engage with chambers of commerce is one, we need to develop a business succession program offered through the Chamber of Commerce. And what I mean by that is we can take what we already know with farm succession planning and just apply that to small businesses. I see a lot of times as I travel across the region and conduct workshops and meet people and what have you, you'll see these mom and pop establishments, that's what I like to call them, and they'll tell me, "Hey, our kids don't want to keep the business." And it can be a pretty good business. Some of them can be some nice little restaurants or shops or whatever. And they'll just simply tell me that. They'll say, wow, what can I do? And I try to talk to them about maybe if they have an employee that may be interested in carrying on the business, maybe working with that person to take over and you kind of wean yourself out of it. But I think with all that we know in family finance and farm succession, I think this could be an area where extension could be one of the go-to agencies that the chamber calls. Also, I think in extension, we do a real good job with value-added opportunities with agricultural ventures. So I think that we can take that same skill set and and tell the chamber, hey, look, if you have a peach grower down here that feels they have a great peach preserve, we can work with them to develop this product, and then they can have a peach preserve shop. I don't know, but I think we have that expertise. We have that knowledge base where we can assist people with that and create that value, and then that can become another store uptown right around the courthouse square. So we can promote every successful agriculture. But once we get it, let's promote that and say, hey, these people started out as peach growers, but now they also have a shop up here that sell peach preserves, peach ice cream, peach pies, peach whatever. But I think we can do that. Also, ways for extension to engage with chambers would be we can promote leadership and organizational education. We can serve on their boards and committees. And I will be honest with you, that's, I think, was the success of my CED programming. I served 3 years as the Chamber of Commerce president there in Brownsville. So I served on the boards, I did all the work, and now, of course, I conduct all their leadership orientation things. I was doing that for a long time. And I would bring in extension experts to conduct the retreats and things like that. So we can do that. And as a result, the businesses that associate with the chamber would also ask those people that I would bring in, hey, can you come do this for my store? Can you come do this for my organization? Can you come do this same workshop at our church? And again, we just grew it that way. Also, I think it's very important that extension hold on to its recognition as being the county's agricultural and environmental leader, authority, if you want to use that term. And I think we just need to hold on to that so that the chamber know, hey, if it's an ag question, or if it's something about the environment, because as these people move in, they go up to the chamber to question what is it that they're spraying out here in this field? What is it that this airplane is flying over, spraying across from our subdivision? Then they can call that extension agent. He can come and explain it to you. He or she. They can come and explain it to you. Go up there. They have information on this. We just need to show chambers of commerce that as they work with these new people moving in, these new businesses and all, that if they have a question about agriculture or environment, contact that local extension office. And we just have to be ready, to do that. Also, we can collaborate with community garden programs. A lot of the nonprofit organizations, they're chamber members. And a lot of them want to put in community gardens. So I think that's where our Master Gardener and our FCE clubs, I think they can also collaborate with chambers of commerce to do all types of projects and programs and, serve on committees or whatever. I think that's another great way that extension can be vibrant in the eyes of Chamber of Commerce directors and staff. In saying this, I would like to go just over a few of what I called some of my past successful partnerships that I did with the Haywood County Chamber of Commerce over the years. And one, I chaired their industrial readiness effort, going all the way back to 1996. I was always on that board. I chaired it. I chaired their economic 3-star certification effort. That was the first time they ever got it. County mayor came to me. He said, "Look, I know you can do this. So take it and run with it." So I did. Also, we used to put on Business Development Week, and you can just get all kind of speakers to come in. And it was something to see that UT Extension logo up there. Just simply as these TVA people were speaking, as these SCORE people were speaking, and there it was as one of the people putting on the event, UT Extension. It was really great to see, and we did that for several years. And I also used to conduct small business boot camps, again, where we would get a group that would want people who would think that they want to go into business. This was mainly for entrepreneurs, and we would go over all aspects. It was a 3-day deal. We would meet like every Thursday for 3 weeks, and then they would graduate, get a certificate. Some of those people are still in business. And then, of course, the county leadership programs. Anything that dealt with leadership, I always saw to it that we had staff members from the extension office participating in those roles, serving on those committees, volunteering, anything that they needed. I just always saw to it that we had a part in it. And then some of my present successful partnerships since the forward announcement. I have been working with the development districts and with a private firm that's been writing our new land use guidelines. So the chamber called me and said, "Hey, we need you to help with this," and that's about finish of how we're going to develop subdivisions. How we're going to do farming operations. As far as subdivisions, being around farming operations, how far we want them away from creeks and things like that, with the environmental plans and things like that. So, and also I'm on the county strategic marketing plan that they're working on, of how they want Haywood County to be marketed with their websites, with their county government and their city government websites. So I've been serving in that capacity as well, working with another private entity, but they wanted me to work with that. And also I serve as the agriculture and natural resource technical advisor in all of those type of things. And my future one that later this year, I will be conducting a 2-day Chamber of Commerce board retreat. And I am a certified real colors facilitator. So I will be conducting the real colors, and I also do desert survival through human synergistics. So that I'm going to be doing that board retreat, and again, keep in contact, showing what extension can do, what we're capable of doing, what we have the skills to do. So my take-home message as I end, I had timed this out to be 45 minutes. I'm about 5 minutes off. I'm sorry about that. But my take-home message is, as with extension, we need to remember, due to population and demographic shifts, chambers are also having a problem showing relevance. Because again, the technology, all of that, and even extension, people saying, "Do we still need extension offices?" I say, heck yeah, we do. But a lot of people tell you, I can Google it, I can get the information. And I know some offices work remote and all that, but I do think you have to keep that presence, and also know that chambers are facing the same thing. So, I'm just saying, together, we can do this together with the local Chamber of Commerce. And on the same note, I just said that technology is removing the chamber's face-to-face services, and they're also removing our face-to-face services as well. That's, like I said, I'm 5 minutes early on this one, But we can have obviously time for for discussion and answer questions and all those things. Let me stop my share for a second. Yes. Mm-hmm. Someone I thought had a hand up. I saw something. Somebody had a hand. I don't see it. So I'm open for discussions.
Does anyone have any questions for our presenter? Walter, I think you covered it very well, it sounds like.
Well, I don't know if I covered it very well. I bored them to death one. I don't know. I timed it out for 45. I was 5 minutes off. I don't know what I did wrong. Yes.
It was very interesting to me. And I liked towards the front of it, you mentioned about how technology is definitely removing that personal factor. And, and I think whether it's chamber, extension, or a lot of our organizations, that's an obstacle, a hurdle, a challenge that I think we're all going to have to figure out how to address. Because I think once we lose that local connection, and we've lost that in my little community, our chamber is no longer active. And I think it was because they lost that social connection, that difference that you was talking about, these small chambers and the larger urban chambers. Ours was definitely a social connection. And when COVID severed a lot of those, it's just never rebounded. So I think, that's definitely a challenge and something extension can help to address in the communities, because I think that personal connection has a true benefit. Any other questions before we wrap things up today?
I had a question. So talking about technology, on the other hand, because we have technology, is Extension able to provide services, trainings, whatnot, through the Chamber of Commerce to their constituents on technologies such as Internet of Things, precision agriculture, artificial intelligence, which is one that I'm looking at, to virtual reality? I mean, are we keeping up with the times in order to provide those types of tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being at the forefront and not just stuff that we've done for years and years.
Yes, I think that we are keeping up with the times. Of course, as always, private industry is always going to be a little ahead of us, in anything that we do pretty much. But, and I will say this, I do think that it's very important that if you do have a Chamber of Commerce, that you have their website on your webpage and they have your website on their webpage to help with some of the technology, as far as searches and things like that. That's very, very vital. And again, I think we just have to build that relationship where they see that they need us. And I think that we can use them because they do, where areas where the chamber is prevalent and the chamber is very, everybody still uses the chamber, Extension can really score some big points in those arenas. I mean, you can go in there and, they just think that you're just wonderful with all our volunteers, our 4-H. We can grab that. Now, there are some areas where the Chamber of Commerce may say, look, we don't want no part of you guys. And that's just life. I don't know what to tell you on that. But I think technology-wise, yes. And I do think that I used to they always would have me come speak to the leadership groups. And in all of those groups, we would have these people who would, it was funny that they didn't know anything about Extension. They always say we're the best kept secret in America. And you're sitting there talking to those 25, 30 people in those leadership classes, and a handful of them would know a little bit about it, but they would be like, I don't know anything about this. Where's your office? And I would tell them where the office is. I would also tell them, all about the different publications. I would get in latter days, I would give them the websites, and I would pass out the business cards with the websites on it and all that. And they were like, wow, I didn't know this was here. I moved here, 2 years ago, and I'm like, wow, just connecting, just being out there with them. And then you always have the person in there that wants to, talk about how the agriculture is just poisoning the food and all that stuff. And I would, kind of explain things. Well, we just don't spray around here just to be spraying, because it costs that farmer like $40,000 every time they go out there to spray something. So I don't think they're just spraying just to spray. And you can really break down a lot of myths and things like that, and misguided information in those settings, and that's simply provided by the Chamber of Commerce. And so yeah, we can walk hand in hand with them. They're very, very vital.
Hey, I just wanted to say, Mr. Walter, the chambers have been very instrumental in me doing my outreach and education training here through Central State University Extension. I'm based in Cincinnati, Ohio, and our African American Chamber actually serves Greater Cincinnati, but it also serves the Appalachian Southeast region of Ohio, which is mainly white Appalachian. And they also have they're the administrators in Ohio, we have the Minority Business Assistance Centers. So there's a wide range of platform for me to do my programming. And they are really gearing towards doing programming, not just how to get into business, right? But once you've been in business a couple years, what are added values? And that's kind of my sweet spot. So we've done a lot of programming. We retain our university, branding and all that. It's just a collaborative effort, but I'm using their platform of their membership, which are hundreds and thousands, or when they do a conference, I'm helping to plan, because I'm working on those committees, right? Advisory committees. And one of the things that I'm proud of is, they're focusing on small business, because small business is 99% of the businesses in Ohio, right? And they, to your point, weren't as knowledgeable about agriculture. They've heard, oh, urban ag is growing, and it is one of the growing industries. So I made a case, and they created a subcommittee for that committee that I'm on to focus on that urban ag and small farm agriculture business. So those are things we've been working together over the past year, and have very good results and feedback from across the social demographic spectrum, right? So not just the BIPOC population. And then I'm helping them on how to get into the white Appalachian region when your name is African American Chamber of Commerce. Just because of your name, they're going to think that, well, there's no services for me, and that's not true. So I just wanted to say, yes, what you're doing is a lot of the same things I'm doing here. I hope everybody reaches into their chambers of commerce. Some of the smaller ones might just deal with business development, but the other ones will have a lot more active and variety of things that you can offer.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect example of what you're talking about there. It's just them knowing that we're available, that extension is available. And and I'm sure everybody on this call can testify to this. When people find out for the first time, you go to an audience and they don't know anything about extension, but then for the first time you explain what extension is, it's like light bulbs begin to just pop off. Really, put a 2 in the chat box if you agree with me on that. It's like they just all get all excited and like, wow, I didn't know that existed. They just get all excited. And again, I think the chambers of commerce can be that avenue in some counties, some areas. I think that it can open this up. I'm all about sustaining extension. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Any kind of way I can sustain it, I want to do it. Any other comments or whatever? Also, you can tell me I did a horrible job. That's fine. For 9 years, I was a high school basketball official. So you can't hurt my feelings. I've been called everything there is to call a person. Trust me. The losing team always blames, but that's no problem. But anyway, yeah.
Any last questions?
And I want to thank y'all for the wonderful comments that you're putting in here. Thank you so very much. You know, I love you guys. You know that. I got to get out more. I got to get out of West Tennessee. Come see some of y'all.
Thank you, Walter, for sharing with us today. Everyone, we appreciate you attending our webinar. Today's session is the last of our scheduled webinars from the last cycle. On February the 15th, our webinar proposals submission portal closed, and we'll be selecting the new webinar series that will start in the upcoming months. So those will be announced via our ESP newsletter and also direct emails when those are available. But we will be restarting the webinar series here in a couple months after we get the current submissions evaluated and get those scheduled. So thank you again today. We hope you have a great week, and thank you for attending our webinar. Yes, sir.
Real quick, somebody asked me when I share the PowerPoint. Absolutely. I'm going to type my email address into the chat box, and they can get it there. I'll put it into a format where I can send it out. No problem.
Okay. And if you can send it to me as well, then I can just share it with the email. For everyone who registered for today's webinar, they will get an email with a link to the video. So if you want to send it to me as well, then I can just attach that to that email. And then everyone would get it as well if you don't mind sharing it. Thank you again, everyone. Hope you have a great day and the rest of your week.